So, good evening, everybody. So, since everybody has joined, I am starting my class today, and today's talk is parental care in amphibian. I am taking up a very light topic today, a very short class since it's supposed to be a holiday today. So, I am presenting my screen now. So, today's topic, as you can see, that it is parental care in amphibians. Amphibians are basically animals which they are vertebrates. They have got a vertebral column. They live in both water as well as in land. So they are adapted to terrestrial as well as aquatic habitats, like your frogs and salamanders. So they have very many devices for the protection of the eggs during the early stages of development. So during the early stage of development, they have got various types of protections. They can, so that their maximum number of eggs which they hatch, they can survive to become adults. So they have got certain parental care. This way, in this way, nature has practiced economy in the number of eggs, which varies in direct proportion to the chances of destruction. So, if an animal lays an egg, it gives some amount of its energy, its own energy into that egg. So, if that organism doesn't live, then it is very bad. That then it is a loss for that organism. So, the organism will try so that its offspring will survive. Its own genes will survive in its offspring. It will try that. So as many eggs as possible to survive. So for their genes to survive, there are, in ecology you must have read that there are two types of strategies. One, they lay a lot of thousands and billions and millions of eggs, and out of that only few of them hatch to form the adult. And one you have the where they have got one or two offspring, but they take so much care, but that all of them survive. That R selection and K selection strategy, these things you must have read all these things. So now basically the amphibians, they practice some sort of care. They give some sort of care to the eggs or the young until these adults are able to protect themselves from predators. So they fall under two heads. The first is protection by the parents by means of nest, nursery or shelter. So they make a nest, or they harbor them in certain areas which is called a nursery, where they take care, and or a shelter. They lay it under some under the grass or under a leaf. They lay the eggs where the predators cannot easily see the eggs there. And the second thing is directly they care for their or nurse the offspring. So the first type is most important. The first is more important, that is protection by means of nest, nurseries and shelters. This is the most important. So what happens is that in different species of frogs and toads, they construct nests or shelters of leaves or other material. They use leaves and other materials in which the eggs are deposited and the young are developed. The first can be in enclosures in the water, mud nest. Famous is the Hyla-faber, also known as the Hyla-faber, also known as in Brazil as the Ferrerio. It's a large tree frog. It protects its progeny by building a basin shaped nest or nursery in shallow water on the border of the pond. So what they do, mud nest of Hyla faber, D. So this is the mud nest of Hyla faber. So they make a mud nest. They make this mud nest around, and inside they lay their eggs here. So they protect it. By this way, the eggs get protected in the Brazilian tree frogs. So what they do is, as you have seen, the female scoops mud to a depth of 7.5 to 10 centimeter, and with the mud, so they make a sort of circular enclosure of mud, 7.5 to 10 centimeter, and a circular wall is built around the nest, which emerges above the surface of the water. So more or less a bucket, a tub like thing emerges. So the water is there. Outside here there is water. This region is water. So they make a nest. So they lay the eggs in this region here in the center. The inside wall is smoothened by the flattened webbed hands, and bottom is also leveled by belly and hands. So they make this region very flat with the help of their belly and their smooth flat hands. The eggs and larvae are thus protected from predators like insects and fishes, etc. So they are safe inside this wall. Since it is raised outside, the fishes cannot go like this and eat it. So they make a sort of mud wall. So insects and all, they are water insects, you mean, they cannot go. So if it is floating, they can eat it up. But since they are inside this wall, this prevents a barrier. It doesn't allow. This is how it is. The next is in holes near water. They are known as foam nest. Example in Rhacophonis. What happens is the male and female in embrace bury themselves in the damp earth on the edge of the ditch or flooded rice field and make a hole or chamber few centimeters above the water level. The walls of this chamber are polished, and during this process the gallery by which they enter into the chamber get obliterated and oviposition begins. The female then first produces a secretion from the cloaca, which is then beaten into a froth. The eggs are then deposited into the froth. Now the inactive male impregnates them, and both of them separate and make an exit gallery towards the ditch. It is obliquely downwards towards the water. Later on, this is used by the larvae who come to the water to complete their development. The bubble collapses, the froth liquefies, and this liquid acts as an efficient vehicle for transporting the larva down the tunnel into the water. So let us see the what happens in the foam nest of Rhacophoros lelegi. So this one. So as you can see, this region here is the water. On the water, they make an oblique nest like this. The eggs in a frothy mass, that is the froth, panna. So they are inside this burrow. They lay in the frothy mass, and first the female lays the eggs, and then the male comes and fertilizes them, and then when the water comes out, gradually the larvae hatch. They go into the water. So they do this near a rice field. They make these sorts of nests near flooded rice and paddy field or near ponds. So this is how Rhacophorus they take care of their Rhacophorus they take care of their young. Then you have the famous tree nests. For example, in Philomedusa and this Rhacophorus malabaricus in India, they make tree nests. They make a tree frog. So they make nest in the tree, and the eggs are glued under the leaf, and they bring bee wax. So what they do is that they glue the egg to the foliage hanging over water. So under the foliage is the leaves. They glue their eggs, and after hatching, the tadpoles drop straight into the water. So you have the water, on top of that you have the leaf, and under the leaf you have the eggs hidden, stuck. Then when the tadpoles hatch, from the eggs they fall directly into the water, and where in the larval stage they have gills, so they need the water to survive, and the larva then grows big and metamorphoses later into adults. So these are the tree nests. Then you have in transparent gelatinous bags. In this species, what happens is they are in sausage shaped transparent membranous bags and left in the mountain streams. So basically they are deposited in mountain streams in certain gelatinous bags. So when they are in the gelatinous bag, then nothing they are more safe from other external desiccation, and it is attached to aquatic plant below the water level. In Salamandrella they have done. They can also do it on trees or in moss away from water. This is also another way by which they do it. So these are the ways. First is nest building, different types of nests, A to E. Then comes the next part, which is direct nursing by the parent. Tadpoles transported from one place to another. For example, the tadpoles are transported from in phylobates and dendrobates. They are the tropical African frogs. They in arthroleptis and pelobates, they lay their egg on the ground. The hatched tadpoles adhere by their sucker-like lips and flattened abdomen to the back of one of their parents, and thus they are carried off from one place to the other. So they have got certain sucker like structure by which they attach. So they have the tadpoles, they have got sucker, they attach. Then the next is eggs are protected by the males. So the eggs, around 17 in number, in Mantophrine robusta, they are strung together by an elastic gelatinous envelope, forming a clump over which the male sits for development. So you have these eggs over here like a gelatinous clump, and the male sits on top of this. The male say frog, it sits on top of it. It sits on the top. Then the eggs are carried by the parents. In the example in Alitis, this is one of the famous in some of the Rhacophorus. You have eggs, they are carried on the top by parents, direct parental care. See, the eggs are kept on the back, then eggs are kept on the tadpoles are kept on the back, the eggs on the hind limbs. So the eggs are on pits on the back. So under the skin, there is sometimes under the skin flap the eggs are protected. When they hatch, the skin flap breaks and they come out. So there are in some of these Urodels, the eggs are laid and they coil around the eggs like this. They protect in some of these amphibian species. Ichthyophus, for example, not the Urodels, the Ichthyophus. In this Ichthyophus, what happens? They coil around the eggs. This is another way of by which they protect their eggs, the children. So this is what I've said. Eggs in back pouches. Hyla goeldi, the female carries the eggs on the back within incipient brood pouch in which the eggs remain exposed. Then in cell-like pouches, in Pipes americana, cell-like pouches, in Pipa. See, small pouch, pits or pouch inside on the back. It's like this. Looks very dirty, but for the baby, the eggs, it is a safe place to stay behind the mother. And for the snakes, it's a delicious meal. With the eggs, they will get the frog. So they can coil around eggs like you have seen in Ichthyophis. They coil around it, or in some of them, in Rhinoderma, they are transferred in the vocal sacs, in the throats, in the vocal sacs. They keep it in the mouth or gular pouch. So the eggs are safe inside the mouth. When they hatch, they are removed around. Then viviparous is that some two of these species, they have no eggs, but they lay the larva, and so by the time they come out, the eggs are quite they are able to take care of themselves, most of them. So this is how it my talk is. So this would end my class over here, and in my next class I will start again with take biochemistry. Possibly I will take my class on Tuesday. On Monday I will not be able to take class because I have got a college seminar, but on Tuesday I will definitely take class. Okay then. So I am ending my class. তোমাদের কোনো questions আছে? মানে জিনিস আমি তোমাদের আরো সুন্দর অনেক ছবি পাঠিয়ে দেবো। হ্যাঁ, তোমাদের ওই ছবিগুলো দেখো, আর এটা ছোট্ট জিনিস, তাও একটু পড়িয়ে দেওয়া, কি কি পড়া, হোয়াট আর দ্য ডিফারেন্ট টু টাইপস অফ প্যারেন্টাল কেয়ারস ইউ হ্যাভ টু, এরকম কোয়েশ্চেন্স আসে, হোয়াট আর দ্য ডিফারেন্ট টাইপস অফ প্যারেন্টাল, সলিড 5 মার্কসের কোয়েশ্চেন আসে। So I would suggest you to not miss this chapter. This is very important. এটা পজিটিভলি আসবে, এটা ভালো করে পড়ে যাবে। এক্ষুনি আমি হোয়াটসঅ্যাপেতে নোটটা পাঠিয়ে দিচ্ছি, এই নোটটা যেটা পড়ালাম এক্ষুনি পাঠিয়ে দিচ্ছি। ঠিক আছে, ওকে, বাই বাই, পরের দিন দেখা হবে।